Hello, I'm Kelly Ott,
And I'm Laura Wakefield.
and today on Focus Point, we're continuing to discuss professional development and ways to access continued growth through different collegiate relationships and obtaining CEUs. Today, we're going to talk about social media and how that has really changed and impacted the way we receive information towards our profession. When we talk about social media, what do you think about?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you because it's a pretty big platform. So, are we talking about professional groups like Facebook closed groups, or are you wanting to talk about more than that? What are you thinking of?
Well, when we talk about social media and ways to access information, I think of a much larger forum.
Okay,
I mean, think about some of the ways we've recently obtained access to information through YouTube
oh,
and
yes,
video blogs and just blogs
right,
and
right.
websites and
Yeah, I watched a whole series of YouTube the other day for learning how to elicit R and trying to talk about that
mhm,
technique. So,
right,
I spent probably an hour and a half watching all those videos.
right.
Just so I could learn it. I wasn't necessarily out to get CEUs, but I needed
Mhm.
to teach myself
Yeah,
a new technique, and the only place I could find it was on YouTube
yeah.
quickly, right?
So those online opportunities to gain access to people, your
Right.
Instagram, your Twitter, your
Oh, yeah.
Facebook,
Right.
even those, when we say social media, those are the things that we immediately think about. But I think it's much broader than that when we talk about gaining access to
Right.
people and to information in today's information age on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking the other day how there was someone I wanted to talk to who was a researcher, and I had this burning question, and I looked the person's information up online, and I couldn't find their email anywhere. And then I went and looked and found them on Facebook, and I just sent them a private message thinking, well, I'm going to give it a shot. And they answered back within an hour, and it was fabulous. And I don't think I would have done that, before we had something like that, before we had that social media
So you're looking
platform.
at this space and know that I'm thinking stalker.
Yeah, it was kind of stalkery, but and I told the person, if you want me to send it to your email, please let me know what your email is. However, the person had no problem with that and said that they knew that their email wasn't on their university's website, and that was an oversight of the
Mm.
university, and they were fine with it and had received many messages there on the same question. So,
So I think there have been a lot of benefits. I mean, obviously, gaining access
yeah,
to people outside of our, general area to draw upon expertise from. That's been a big
yes,
benefit of
right.
social media is to gaining access to a larger group of people and professionals out there.
And even globally, I think about how in the past, before social media, I would have never been able to reach out internationally to someone because recently, with some of my advocacy work, I've had to access two people to do some translations of procedural safeguards and the IEP in languages that we didn't have anyone in our little town
Mhm.
who could speak that. So I wouldn't have had that before. And now I can just kind of reach out to different groups and find them, and those who do translations for special education types of things are there.
So not only accessing a larger group of people, but also that 24/7 access, I
Oh,
think
yes,
is a big
that's true.
benefit. I
Right,
mean, because if you're like us and you're night owls and you never sleep, you're doing the
right,
bulk of your research and
right.
communication on those
After
hours that
hours.
you
Hmm.
wouldn't have access to a coworker.
Exactly. Or
Mhm.
if you are, the West Coast, East Coast thing, sometimes with the time zone differences can be a real
Mhm.
pain. So it's
Yes.
nice to be able to just leave that message and then that person can get back to you when they are available.
For sure. Yeah, and I think too, like with some of these forums, you have access to a larger forum of people, but then you can also private message as well, where
Right.
it's not necessarily public.
Right.
So, you kind of pick and choose and discriminate how you want to share or request information.
Exactly. And I would also say another great thing, another pro is I have had my mind opened up to things. Now, is it necessarily going to change my mind? Maybe not. but I've had my mind open to other ways that people think
Mhm.
and looking at how they experience their life and their viewpoints. It's definitely made me see a lot of other dimensions to one topic.
Mhm. For sure, when discussions are held in a very professional, um, positive manner, there's a
Mhm.
lot to be gained from that. And there's certainly a larger knowledge base and a lot more variability when you're in these larger forums with opinions
Yes,
and practices, which is nice to see. I think that's how we continually grow, is to see what others are doing and why they're doing it. And even if we disagree, we
yeah,
can at least be aware of some of the other viewpoints on topics. So there's a lot of
exactly.
benefits to social media and accessing social media for professional growth. I think that next week we're going to talk about some of the, the cons to social media and talk
Yeah,
about some of the disadvantages and how we have to be careful professionally. But we did want to take time to point out that there are a lot of benefits to accessing a larger group of people with a much broader base of
exactly.
knowledge.
Right. I think it's brought us, made us a larger community.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All
great.
right,
All right.
great. So we will see you next time on Focus Point.